Why thousands of men are disappearing into male-only retreats. Something strange is happening to men. They're switching off their phones, leaving their partners at home, walking away from work, driving into forests, climbing mountains, jumping into freezing lakes, sitting around fires with complete strangers, and sometimes paying serious money to do it. These are male-only retreats, and they're becoming a fascinating part of a much bigger movement around masculinity, loneliness, mental health, and male friendship. But here's where it gets interesting. Some of these retreats look like luxury holidays. Others look like military training. Some involve meditation and therapy-style conversations. Others involve mountains, survival challenges, cold water, and sleeping outdoors. And some men claim the experience completely changed how they looked at their lives. So what exactly is going on? Why would a grown man voluntarily give up his comfortable bed, Wi-Fi, television, takeaway food, and hot shower to sit in a forest with a bunch of men he's never met? The answer goes much deeper than you might think. Because this isn't really a story about retreats. It's a story about what modern men might be missing. Let's get into it. 1. The experiment. Imagine this. We take 10 men. Different ages, different jobs, different backgrounds. Most of them have never met. Now we take away their phones. No Instagram, no TikTok, no work emails, no dating apps, no news, no YouTube, no endless scrolling. Then we put them somewhere remote. A forest, a mountain, a cabin, maybe somewhere with absolutely terrible phone reception. And for the next 3 days, they do almost everything together. They hike, they cook, they train, they talk, they struggle, they laugh, they sit around a fire, and eventually something interesting starts happening. They start opening up. The guy who seemed incredibly confident admits his marriage is struggling. The successful businessman admits he feels completely burned out. The father admits he worries he's failing his children. The recently divorced man admits he has barely spoken honestly to anyone in months. The younger guy admits he has absolutely no idea what he's doing with his life. And suddenly everyone realizes something. Nobody has everything figured out. 2. Men have a friendship problem. This might be one of the biggest reasons male retreats are attracting attention. Men can know hundreds of people and still have nobody they can actually talk to. Think about it. You might have work colleagues, football friends, gym friends, gaming friends, people you know from the pub, people you haven't seen since school but still send ridiculous memes to. But here's the question. How many of those people actually know what's happening inside your head? That's different. Male friendships are often built around activities. Football, fishing, cycling, gaming, cars, music, motorcycles, hiking, training, work. And that can be brilliant. But something happens as men get older. Life gets busy. Careers take over. People get married. Children arrive. Friends move away. Someone stops playing football. Someone changes jobs. Someone gets divorced. Someone starts working from home. And slowly, the group disappears. Not because anyone had an argument. Not because anyone deliberately ended the friendship. Life simply happened. Then one day a man realizes, who would I actually call if everything went wrong tonight? And he doesn't have an answer. That is where these retreats become interesting. Because they deliberately rebuild something modern life often destroys. Male community. 3. Now take away the phone. This might be one of the most powerful parts. Your phone. Right now, many of us carry a device that can interrupt us literally hundreds of times a day.
Email,
WhatsApp, breaking news, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, work, dating apps, notifications, someone arguing about politics, someone showing you their holiday, someone selling you something, someone telling you you're not successful enough, someone telling you you're not attractive enough, someone telling you you're not productive enough, someone telling you the world is ending. Now imagine turning all of it off for 3 days. At first, you'd probably hate it. You'd reach for your pocket automatically. Nothing. 10 minutes later, pocket again. Nothing. But eventually something strange happens. The noise stops. And when the noise stops, you start thinking, that's when things can get uncomfortable. Because the thoughts you've been avoiding suddenly have nowhere to hide. 4. Then they make it harder. And this is where male retreats get even stranger. because some of them don't make you comfortable. They deliberately make you uncomfortable. You might wake up at sunrise, hike for hours, carry equipment, climb mountains, train, chop wood, sleep outside, jump into freezing water, which raises an obvious question. Why would anyone pay for this? You've spent your entire working life earning money so you can afford heating, and now you're paying somebody to put you in a freezing lake. It sounds ridiculous, but there is psychology behind voluntary discomfort. Because every time you deliberately enter something difficult and get through it, your brain receives a message. I handled that. The mountain looked impossible. You climbed it. The water looked unbearable. You entered it. The hike exhausted you. You finished it. And when life becomes difficult again, you've created evidence that discomfort doesn't automatically defeat you. An ice bath isn't going to fix your life. But proving to yourself that you can tolerate discomfort can change how you think about difficult situations. 5. Then something really interesting happens. Put 12 strangers in a conference room. Give them coffee. Sit them in a circle. Then say, "Okay, gentlemen, tell everyone your deepest emotional problems." Good luck. You'd probably hear the air conditioning. But take those same 12 men. Make them hike 10 miles. Let it rain. Let someone struggle. Let another man help him. Let them get lost for 10 minutes. Let them laugh. Let them complain. Let them finally reach the campsite exhausted. Then put them around a fire. Now ask, what's actually going on in your life? Completely different conversation, because they've already done something together. And this is incredibly important when understanding male friendship. Many men don't necessarily connect face to face. They connect side by side. 6. The 3-hour walk effect. Ask a man, "How are you feeling?" "Fine." Conversation over. Now take that same man on a 3-hour walk. 20 minutes. Football. Work. Weather. 40 minutes. My boss is doing my head in. 1 hour. Work's actually getting pretty bad. 90 minutes. Me and my wife have been arguing a lot. 2 hours. I don't actually know if I'm happy anymore. And suddenly you're having a conversation you could never have forced across a table. That's one reason hiking appears so frequently at men's retreats. The activity removes pressure. You don't need constant eye contact. Silence isn't awkward. You're moving. You're doing something. The conversation can simply appear. 7. And then comes the fire. This might sound ridiculously simple, but fire appears everywhere in men's retreats. There's something almost ancient about it. Men sitting around a fire telling stories. Human beings have done this for thousands of years. And without television, phones, and constant distractions, something changes. People actually listen. One man talks about divorce. Another talks about losing his father. Another talks about becoming a father. Another admits he's drinking too much. Someone hates his job. Someone feels trapped in his marriage. Someone has everything he thought he wanted, and still feels empty. And suddenly the man sitting opposite him says, "Mate, I've felt exactly the same thing." That sentence can be enormous, because one of the most dangerous aspects of isolation is believing your problems are uniquely yours. 8. The successful guy who is completely exhausted. Here's another misconception. Men attending retreats aren't necessarily men whose lives have fallen apart. Sometimes it's the complete opposite. Business owners, executives, managers, doctors, engineers, tradesmen, entrepreneurs, men earning good money, men with families, men with houses, men who appear to have won. But there's a problem. Everyone needs something from them. Employees need decisions. Clients need answers. Children need attention. Partners need support. Bills need paying. Parents are getting older. Problems need fixing. And this man becomes unbelievably good at carrying responsibility. Until eventually he realizes nobody is carrying him. Ask him whether he's depressed and he might say, "No." Ask him how he's doing and he'll probably say, "Fine." But ask him privately, "I'm exhausted." Not sleepy. Exhausted. And for 3 days, the retreat allows him to stop being the boss. He isn't the manager. He isn't the provider. He isn't the problem solver. He's just Dave. And Dave is sitting beside a fire eating slightly burned food with 11 other blokes. For some men, that simplicity is incredibly attractive. 9. The 45-year-old question. Then we get to another huge group. Men approaching middle age, Because somewhere around your 30s, 40s, or 50s, life starts asking different questions. At 22, what am I going to become? At 45, is this what I became? That's a very different question. Maybe you have the career, house, car, family, mortgage, pension, and yet something still feels wrong. Your parents are aging. Your children don't need you in the same way anymore. Your body is changing. 20 years disappeared unbelievably quickly, and suddenly time doesn't feel unlimited. That's when some men start asking, what do I actually want? Who am I outside my job? Am I a good father? Am I happy in my relationship? What happened to the person I was at 25? What do I want the next 20 years to look like? Those are huge questions. And normally we try answering them while simultaneously replying to work emails. A retreat says, stop. Now think. 10. Divorce changes everything. Now imagine the man arriving at the retreat has just gone through divorce. He hasn't only lost his relationship, potentially he's lost his home, his routine, daily contact with his children, mutual friends, financial stability, his sense of identity, even his plans for the future. Friday night arrives.
And suddenly,
Nothing. No family dinner. No children's bedtime. No partner. No plans.
just silence.
Men can become extremely isolated after relationship breakdown. And unfortunately, male support sometimes looks like, forget her. Get back on Tinder. Let's get smashed. That might provide temporary distraction, but it doesn't answer the difficult questions. What happened? What responsibility was yours? What did you ignore? What did you learn? Who are you now? What happens next? A strong men's group can create somewhere those questions can actually be discussed. 11. And then there's fatherhood. This can become incredibly emotional, because many men arrive carrying two completely different relationships. The relationship they have with their children, and the relationship they had with their own father. Maybe dad was brilliant. Maybe dad was absent. Maybe dad worked constantly. Maybe dad never said, I love you. Maybe dad was frightening. Maybe dad died. Maybe dad did the best he could with what he knew. And then one day a man hears himself saying something to his son and realizes, that sounded exactly like my father. That's when the past suddenly collides with the present. Men begin asking, what kind of father am I? What did my father teach me? What do I want to keep? What ends with me? Those conversations can become some of the deepest discussions inside men's groups. 12. But here's where things can go wrong. Because not every male retreat is brilliant. And some deserve serious skepticism. If somebody promises, we will completely heal your trauma in 48 hours, be careful. If somebody claims, give me 5,000 and I'll teach you how to become an alpha male, be very careful. And if somebody tells you, stop seeing your therapist, you only need our brotherhood, get out. There is a massive difference between personal development and professional mental health treatment. Cold water can be challenging. Mountains can build confidence. Brotherhood can reduce isolation. Meditation can be useful. Talking can help. But none of these automatically replace qualified professional support when someone needs it. 1. Watch out for the guru. This is probably the biggest red flag. The charismatic leader who apparently has masculinity completely figured out. He knows how men should behave, how relationships work, how women think, how successful you should be, what you should eat, how you should train, how you should dress, how you should think. And amazingly, the next level of enlightenment is available on his $7,999 premium program. That's not brotherhood. That's a sales funnel. Healthy male communities should make men stronger and more independent, not psychologically dependent on the person running them. If questioning the leader is discouraged, that's a problem. If participants are pressured to reveal trauma, that's a problem. If professional medical treatment is mocked, that's a major problem. A retreat should help you think, not tell you what to think. 14. You don't need to become a Viking. There's another problem. Sometimes men's movements replace one stereotype with another. Old stereotype, men don't cry. New stereotype, real men wake up at 4 a.m., lift 200 kg, take ice baths, eat steak and wrestle bears before breakfast. Calm down. You don't need to become a Viking. Masculinity isn't a costume. A man caring for his elderly mother can be strong. A father patiently helping his frightened child can be strong. A man admitting his drinking is out of control can be strong. A man walking into therapy can be strong. A man leaving a destructive relationship can be strong. A man apologizing when he's wrong can be strong. Strength has more than one appearance. 15. But here's the part that really matters. Strip away everything else. The mountains, ice baths, breathing exercises, meditation, luxury cabins, survival training, campfires. What are these men actually paying for? Maybe the answer is much simpler. Connection. They want friends. They want purpose. They want challenge. They want conversations that actually mean something. They want to temporarily stop performing. They want to know whether other men are struggling with the same things. And sometimes, they just want someone to listen. 16. Why this could get much bigger. Think about the direction modern society is moving. More remote working, more screens, more algorithms, more artificial intelligence, more digital entertainment, more online communication, potentially fewer spontaneous real-world interactions, which means experiences offering the exact opposite could become increasingly attractive. Real people, real conversations, physical activity, nature, no phone, no algorithm, no audience, no likes, no followers, no profile picture, just human beings spending time together. And maybe that's the irony. We've built the most technologically connected civilization in human history, and now some men are paying money to escape it so they can feel connected again. The real reason men are going. A man arrives on Friday. He has his backpack, walking boots, maybe a sleeping bag, but he's carrying something else. His job, his mortgage, his marriage, his divorce, his children, his father's expectations, his regrets, his failures, his fear of getting older, his fear that he hasn't achieved enough, his fear that everybody else somehow figured life out and he didn't. Then his phone gets switched off. He walks, he struggles, he laughs, he eats, he listens, he sits beside a fire. And eventually someone across from him says something that sounds almost exactly like something he's been thinking for years. And suddenly he realizes, wait, you feel like that too? That might be the most important moment of the entire weekend. Because the biggest attraction of the male-only retreat might not actually be the retreat. It's discovering that you're not the only man carrying this stuff. And that is why male-only retreats are becoming such an interesting phenomenon. Not because men suddenly want to live in forests. Not because ice baths magically fix mental health. And definitely not because every man secretly wants to become some kind of wilderness warrior. It's because underneath the noise of modern life, men are searching for some incredibly basic things. Brotherhood, purpose, challenge, belonging, honesty, and genuine human connection. And if modern society isn't providing enough places for men to find those things, don't be surprised when more of them start heading into the woods to look for them. Let us know your thoughts on this in the comment section. As always, thank you all for watching and see you next time.